Broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us today for our Marketing for Mentoring Part 1. There we go. All right. So, for those of you who don't know about Insala, if you haven't been on our webinar before, we are a technology company that provides mentoring technology to help your employees grow and develop. So, Matthew, do you want to talk a little bit about what Insala does on the mentoring side?
Sure. So Insala provides mentoring technology that assists with matching, nurturing relationships, and additional resources to make sure that they flourish over time. And on the administrative side, it allows for easy ways to gain access to reporting, see how the mentoring program is moving along, and gives a lot of pivot points to allow for changes to be made to help the program grow even more.
Perfect. Thank you. All right. Okay, so before we get started, we're going to go through just a couple of little webinar tips. So the webinar is being recorded, and it's going to be sent to everyone via email after we're done. So that is going to happen. Be on the lookout for that email this afternoon. That way you can go back and watch it on demand. Watch it on demand, and also share it with anyone that you'd like to. Everyone has been muted, but we would love for you to feel free to participate. Please put your questions in the chat box. We do monitor that box throughout the webinar, and we're going to take some time to answer your questions as we kind of go along, and then we'll have time at the end also. Also, we love when you get social, so please tweet along using #InsalaWebinar. All right, we're going to take just a quick second for those of you who haven't done a webinar with us to introduce ourselves. Matthew, would you like to introduce yourself?
Sure. My name is Matthew Heilman. I am the trainer here at Insala. I do all the training for our new clients as they come on board and then continue providing services after they've launched. I've been with Insala for about 4 years and in education for about 10 years. So it's very excited to meet all of you today.
Thank you, Matthew. All right, my name is Katie Mouton. I am the digital marketing specialist here at Insala. I have been doing digital marketing for 10 years, and I've been with Insala for a little over a year now. So I have a marketing degree. I am passionate about marketing. I love marketing. I get really nerdy about marketing. So I'm really, really excited about this webinar and kind of putting, instead of just an admin spin on what you can do with marketing for your program, we're going to put a marketing spin on it. So you're going to get a little something from us that maybe we haven't done in the past. All right, so this is our agenda for today. So first we're going to talk about who. We're going to define our target market. Then we're going to talk about what, creating content, when, building awareness, and where, choosing distribution channels. So these are all the components that we're going to need to make an effective marketing plan. All right, first we're going to go through a really quick poll. We like to see who's with us and kind of where you're at. So we want to know, do you currently have a marketing plan for your mentoring program? Please select one of the following. Yes, no, but we're working on one. No, but we need one. Or no, we do not have a mentoring program yet. By the way, I'm going to mix up marketing and mentoring a lot. I'm going to go ahead and apologize for that. Those two words, I struggle. Words are hard.
The words are very hard. But looking at the poll, though, someone does have a marketing plan, which is super awesome. So that's very exciting. But I think the rest of the results are kind of what we expected for today's session.
Yep. And if we can get those in, we got about 80% voted, almost done. All right, we're going to go ahead and close the poll and share the results. So 13% said yes, they do have a marketing plan for their mentoring program. Great job, guys. 26 no, but we're working on one. 35% no, but we need one. And 26% don't have a mentoring program yet. That's okay. We're glad that you're here. All right, we're going to get back to the slides. Okay, so this is a series. So we're having two parts to this webinar series. And first, we're going to talk about the before your program launch. You know, marketing is a continuous thing. It's not something that you do and then just stop. So this session is about the before. Our next session, which is going to be next month, is about the during and the after for your marketing. So we're going to jump right into the before. All right. So before we jump into our agenda, we want to answer the question of why. Why do you need a marketing plan for your mentoring program? I'm sure many of you have asked this before or have been asked this before. You know, marketing for your mentoring program is like marketing for any other initiative that you have in your organization. You know, there's an old saying, build it and they will come. Well, if that was true, you wouldn't need marketing. You don't want to take that attitude when it comes to your mentoring program, because just because you have a mentoring program doesn't mean that people are aware of it or that they know anything about it or that they're going to want to be a part of it. You have to really entice them, just like you entice your clients or your customers to come, work with you. You have to entice your participants to work with you in the mentoring program as well. So really it should be, if you build, market, and sell it really well, then they will come. So marketing is a big part of that. We also want to talk about what happens without a marketing strategy. So if you decide to go ahead, I don't need that, I'm going to do my mentoring program, we don't need marketing, just be aware of what could happen. So first, you might not have enough participants recruited, which means you're not going to have enough mentors or mentees. You're not going to have a lot of matches. So then inadequate number of matches means that you're not going to have a great return on investment. So that's going to lead to the program not holding a lot of value to your stakeholders in the organization. And then eventually the program could be dropped if all of these things happen. So that's why we really push to all of our clients and to anyone that we discuss mentoring programs with to have a marketing strategy before, during, and after.
And this is a really good note to mention too. When it comes to those mentees, it's usually the difficulty level of getting a mentee to join a program, very simple. People always want to learn. They want to be a part of it. But I think especially what this is talking about when we talk about not enough participants, very heavily on mentors. Because I know from a training perspective, mentors, they need a lot of information to understand what they're trying to do. But before you can even get them to train them, they have to know this exists. They have to know, what are we trying to accomplish? They have to know the big picture. And the marketing is what brings them in, gets them interested and excited in the program. And then that's when everything else can kind of take over.
Yes, great points to add there. All right, so the first question you got to ask yourself, do you have a plan? And I'm talking about a marketing plan. I'm sure everyone's going to have a plan if you've implemented a mentoring program, but you have to have another marketing plan that really answers the 4 questions that we're going to talk about today, the who, what, when, where of your plan, so that you can make sure that you're covering all your bases and that you're marketing effectively. All right, so first we're going to go over the who. Who, you may think that the who only applies to the recipient, but actually it also talks about who the message is coming from. So we're going to split the who in 2. Haha, that was fun.
I like it. Very clever for a Tuesday
Did not plan that. I haven't even had enough coffee to plan that yet, but that was fun. Okay, so we're going to split it in 2, and we're going to talk about it in 2 different ways. Okay, so first, you're defining your target audience. If you don't know what a target audience is, it's who you're trying to get a message out to. Who are you reaching out to? Who are you talking to? Okay, so when you're splitting this up, there's lots of different areas you could go with your target audience. Something that we've seen most often with our clients is that you can target high potentials. You can target your millennials. You can target your new hires for onboarding, or you can target for diversity and inclusion. This is all going to depend on the type of mentoring program that you actually implement. So you have to look at, what are your goals? Is this going to be inclusive? Is everyone going to get to be a part of this mentoring program? Or is it going to be exclusive? Are you just going to maybe stick to these little groups of people? And what's the participation criteria? Do they have to be a certain career level? Do they have to have a certain number of years of experience? There's lots of different ways that you can decide what type of program you're going to have or who's going to be a part of it. But the bottom line is, you're not going to send the same message to every single person that you're marketing to. I know when I do marketing for Insala, I like to segment those. So we're going to move into the next slide. You're going to segment your list. So you're going to take, okay, I'm going to look at my program and go, I'm going to do an onboarding mentoring program. So I'm going to do a mentoring program for all of our new hires. Now, how are you going to break that up? Geographical location is a great one. So you're going to segment your list. You're going to break it in so that you can get the right message to the right people and that they'll really respond to it. Does that make sense for segmenting?
Definitely does. Because, I mean, sometimes you may have a program that everyone's in one location, but there are many of our clients, they're world organizations. So they'll have in America, they'll have APAC, they'll have European, they'll have Africa. So it definitely takes into consideration, which we're going to talk about in a little bit about automation and when certain things should be sent out. Taking geographic location is a huge part of how it's going to work. Also, just how the mentoring relationship is going to work. Is this going to be all virtual? Is this going to be face to face? Something to take into consideration.
Exactly. So you want to segment your list so that the right people are getting the right message. So once you define your target audience, you split that target audience into segments, and then that way they're getting the message that you want them to have. So geographical location is going to go along with language too. So if you have a global workforce like Matthew was saying, and there's lots of different languages, you don't want to send a message in a language that your recipient's not going to understand. So these are very common sense things that sometimes we forget. Even as a marketer, I sometimes forget that if I'm sending a message to some of our contacts in London, I need to change the way that I spell program because they add some letters to it. If I'm going to write organization, I replace my Z with an S. These are things that when they look at it, they want to know that you're really talking to them. So that's a really important thing. Segmenting your list is huge. There's lots of different ways that you can segment it, but these are the criteria that you really want to pay attention to so they know you're speaking directly to them, and they're going to be a little more engaged knowing that you spent time on it. All right, let's see. Oh, sorry, Matthew just reminded me of a stat, and I love stats.
We
and
love
I can't
stats.
believe I almost
Yes.
forgot this. Sorry. So recipients are 75% more likely to click on emails from segmented campaigns than non-segmented campaigns. That's taking a little different approach to it as well because there's lots of ways that you can segment. This is a way that you want to segment to make sure you're getting the right message. This stat also relates to how you segment when you send based on who it's coming from or what the subject is. And we're going to talk about email campaigns in a little bit, and I am going to explain that further. So the second part of the who is defining your voice. Who is the one sending the message? Who is doing the talking to your target audience? And when you pick who it's coming from, you have to figure out, okay, are we going to send this from multiple people? Is this all going to come from one person? Who's going to have the most impact on? So if you're sending an email and you have that email coming from the president of your company, I have a feeling most people are going to open that email. And they're going to read it and they're going to take time because it's coming from someone who's a stakeholder in the company, who's a leader, who is seen as someone to be respected and followed, and people want to hear what they have to say. Or maybe their direct manager. Is their direct manager going to them and saying, hey, we have this great marketing program coming. I think this would be perfect for you. That's going to really mean something to these people that you want to participate. So when you're building this awareness, you have to remember that who this message is coming from is just as important as who it's going to. Program admins are going to have a lot of knowledge about the program. So maybe like I said, you send it from multiple people. You start with your leadership team, get their attention. You start with your direct manager, get their attention. You move on to the program admin so that they can really explain what's going on. What are the benefits? What's happening here? We're going to cover all of that in content. I'm going to jump ahead a lot. Sorry. And then, HR, they can speak from it as about the same from a program admin. These are the people creating your program. They have a lot of knowledge about it. So I would suggest communicating from all of these levels because they're all going to have something to give and they're all going to have something that is going to be very valuable to the audience that you're speaking to.
And just to jump on that too, because we are going to be talking about emails, the relationship is so hugely important. Because just think about it for a second, the last time you looked at your email, I'm sure there were some people in there that you saw an email and you're like, oh, I need to click this right now because this is something important I need to read. And I'm sure you saw some emails that you were like, I'll get to this a little bit later. So this is exactly what Katie was just saying, is that if you know that your workforce or the participants of this program are going to respond differently to different people, make sure you take that into consideration because that's half the battle is just getting the message out there, or maybe more, probably more of the battle.
Absolutely. And, you might be sitting there going, okay, well, our leadership team is not going to have time to send an email out to all these people. This stuff can be automated. Emails are great. They can be automated. You can you can have the message coming on a bulletin board. We're going to talk about distribution again. I'm jumping ahead. But if it's coming from a leader and you're worried about the time, you can automate it. It's still going to come from them. It just doesn't have to be sent out individually, which is a great, great tool. All right, so moving on from the who. The who is a big one, and you've got to figure that out first off. I mean, that's the first thing you have to do is, who is this going to? Who is it coming from? Okay, we figured out the who. Now, what are we sending these people? This is talking about your content. This is talking about the message that you're going to send out to your potential participants. All right, so you want to define your message. There's some questions that you have to answer when you're defining your message. So why? Why are you creating your content? Are you building awareness? Are you just letting people know about your plan or about your program? Are you recruiting? Are you trying to get them to come in and sign up? There's a million different reasons why you're creating your content. So what exactly is going to be the right message for your audience at the time that you're sending it? What are you promoting? So, that's a big one too. Is it your program? Is it your benefits? Is it your development programs that you have? These are all types of messages you can send. When you're creating your content, what makes your program unique? Should you share stats? Is it that your leadership is involved? Do you have modern mentoring, which is something that's a little different and people might not have heard of? You have to set yourself apart from every other initiative that's going on in the organization, every other email that people are getting. So when they read this, it holds some value. So when you're answering all these questions, you also have to look at, okay, who am I creating this for? We just picked our audience. Don't forget your audience. They still need to be there when you're defining your message. And then, like I said, make your program unique. That's so important because it gives you something to say. It helps you define your message and it really gets it out there. So bottom line, when you're defining your message, you have to know your goals before you can do that. If you don't know your goals, you can't answer any of these questions. You're going to have an easier time to determine the best strategy. And these goals can include, like I said, building brand awareness, generating leads. This is all a part of marketing, but it's also going to be a part of your mentoring program, because without the awareness, without the leads, as I would say, but you would say participants, your program's not going to be successful. So define your message, get the right awareness out there so that your people are understanding exactly what you're sending to them and exactly why they should be a part of this.
And I think to tie in with that too, one thing that we've commonly seen is that sometimes mentoring programs, they struggle with their content even after they've launched. As participants have matched up, mentors and mentees are not sure what the next steps are going to be. If you're thinking about marketing, if you're thinking, well, I don't even know what we would market, then that probably is tying into your program. If you don't know what to market, what does your program have to offer? They kind of go hand in hand. So if you know there's things you want to market, that means your plan for your mentors and mentees is going to be robust and you have resources available to them to promote. So if you can't do one, the other one's probably not going to work out.
Yes, and that's a great segment into our question that we have for you today. In the beginning, I said we love when y'all participate. We would love you to participate now.
Please.
So if you can take a minute, we want to know, what do you think your audience wants to know about the mentoring program? And if you don't have a mentoring program, that's okay. What do you think that they would want to know once you have one? So if you'll put your answer in the chat box, we're just going to take a couple seconds and see if anyone has anything to share.
I would definitely say from a program administrative side, when it comes to what they want to know about the program, they want to know the length of the program. They want to know the expectations of the program. They want to know a lot of different concepts that you may not realize that they need to know.
That's a great point. And I think adding on to that, we just got an answer from someone. Who is it for and what's the expected outcome? That goes right on what you were just saying.
Right.
That's right on point. How much time will it take? That is so huge. Time is valuable. And people only have so much time during the day. So can they do this and still be effective at work? Can they do this and still have a work-life balance? They really want to know that. What will be the ROI? Absolutely. That's something that your stakeholders are absolutely going to want to know. And also your participants are going to want to know. What are they going to get out of this? What is a mentoring program? I didn't even think about that. That's great. Yeah, define it. Define what a mentoring program is. Not just your mentoring program, but a mentoring program. What a specific organization requires of them as mentors? Yes. What will I get out of this? Yes. Who can join? Absolutely. requirements. Yes, those are all really great. I think everyone's right on point with what your target audience wants to know. And this is going to be part of defining your message. You have to get this information out to them, or they just don't know these things. You have to tell them. It's like any other marketing initiative. Your clients don't know about your product if you don't tell them. All right. Thank you for sharing, everyone. So moving forward, these are just a couple that we came up, and y'all pretty much already covered them. They want to know organization objectives. They want to know program expectations and requirements, and they want to know the benefits for them. Yes, it's great that this is going to benefit the organization, absolutely, but people want to know how it's going to benefit them as a mentor or a mentee as well. All right, so we want to define our message. Yes, that's extremely important because you have to know what you're going to send out to these people. What are you going to say to them? But you also have to plan your message. Marketing is all about planning. So keep that word in mind. The key word here is plan. You have to plan ahead with marketing. Marketing is not something that just happens on a whim. And we're going to go, yet again, jumping ahead, we're going to go over that. Towards the end, we're actually going to go through a marketing plan, but a big part of it is planning your message. So you know what you're going to say. You've defined it. You've answered all the questions that I gave you. What makes us unique? What do they want to know? You've got all that information. Okay, now what do you do with it? If you have this information prepared in advance, then you're able to determine when and how to distribute it to get the best results. So plan your message. I just put a couple of examples of, messages that could go out. The announcement of the program, the benefits for the mentors, the benefits are for the mentees. Split those up. You want to segment those because you don't want to send the benefits of the mentees to your mentors. Eventually they need to know what that is, but in the beginning, to really pull them in, they're going to be wondering what's in it for me. Program enrollment opens for mentors. Program enrollment, that's hard. Program enrollment opens for mentees. So these are dates that they need to be aware of. This is all part of marketing. And I have down on my notes that I want to talk about what Insala does a little bit. So, I do the marketing for Insala. We have a lot of different types of marketing that we do, and we have a really big plan. And that's actually what I'm going to go over at the end of the webinar. But what we do is that we plan months in advance because it is a lot. Like it sounds like it's not like, oh, I can throw this together, but it is a lot, and it can be very overwhelming if you're doing it day to day. So what I do, January is mentoring month. For anyone who doesn't know, happy mentoring month. January is mentoring month. And so mentoring month for us has been planned since August. And what that allowed us to do to define our message, to get all of the content that we needed to deliver that message, and then to make a plan for that message so that we're able to distribute it and we know when it's going to go out and how it's going to go out. And because we had this all planned, we were able to do some automation. And that automation allowed us to save time so that we could really focus on this webinar, on the next webinar, on the ebook that's going to come out in March, on the other initiatives that we have in marketing. Because if I'm doing this day to day, that will be my entire day. So if you plan ahead and you plan your message and you know exactly what you're going to say, it's going to make the rest of your marketing plan so much easier.
Right. And a lot of this, I know many of mentoring program administrators out there, this may not be your full-time job. This is maybe something that you've taken on because you want to support your organization. So getting all this planned in advance, then you always have that template available to you. And when it's time to relaunch or it's time to start a new program, everything is kind of set in stone and you have everything that's already planned out. If you're kind of doing it on a whim or day by day, it's not going to be as regimented, it's not going to be as scheduled, and you'll have to kind of do it all over again. If you have that plan, it's something to work off of.
And I advise everyone to do that for any type of content. Anytime you have content, planning is the way to go. All right, so we've talked about the who, we've talked about the what. Hey, we're actually on schedule. Go us.
We're doing good.
Let's talk about the when. When is a big one. We've all heard the phrase timing is everything, and it's true. In marketing, it really is everything. Timing can make or break your strategic marketing campaign. After all, you wouldn't market Christmas decorations in May. You're not going to market your program a year before it happens. I mean, maybe send an initial awareness email, but people like to do things pretty close to when they find out about them. So I didn't start marketing this webinar 6 months ago. I knew this webinar was happening 6 months ago, but I started marketing this webinar 5 weeks ago because that gives everyone just enough time to sign up for it, clear their schedules to join us, really get excited about it with some follow-up emails, and be present so that we have more attendees because we want you here. Yes, you can watch on demand, but it's great to have, live participation. So that's what the real timing of marketing is. So a couple of things that you need to do is determine the best time to reach your audience. Look back at that who. Test your strategy. Send out a couple of test emails. Look at your open rates. Talk to people. Figure out when their day is a little freer to open your emails. Are they doing it after work? Is it something that you should make really look good for mobile? Are they doing it on their lunch breaks? Do they have time to talk about it amongst themselves? Test your strategy so that you know when the perfect timing is for your audience. What might work for my audience might not work for yours. So it's really important to look into your organization. Also, learn from experience. Have you done anything in the past that has worked really well? If you know that sending an email at Wednesday at 3 o'clock and it doesn't get opened, don't do that again.
Right.
You want to get some results from this.
And I will say I saved some fun facts because I like fun facts. And that's why I put animation in here, even though I was told I shouldn't. So one of the fun facts is, according to HubSpot, at 11 a.m. Eastern time, that has the highest click-through rate for email sends. So something really to take into consideration. And also, marketers who send emails on Tuesdays get the highest open rates. So it makes sense. Monday is kind of I'm back to work. I'm too busy. Tuesday, things are calming down. And just like from a training perspective, half of my position is getting things scheduled, getting people excited to come and talk with me, which is a challenge in itself. But that's why also I don't set up things for Friday afternoons or Monday mornings, because I know those are just tough times. People are wrapping up the week. They're getting the week started. So really taking that into consideration of when you're trying to get a hold of someone. We all know that if you're trying to maybe get a hold of one in particular person, it's always Wednesday afternoon. That works. And that's what Katie was saying, that testing your strategy and learning from your experience. Oops, too far.
Uh-oh, go back. Oh. All right. Yes, I think that what you said is really great. And, that's honestly, we used to do our webinars on Wednesday and we moved them to Tuesdays. We found that Tuesday was working better for some people. So now we're going to do our webinars on Tuesdays. So happy Tuesday again. Yeah. All right. So timing is everything. But again, here's that word again. I said this is going to be our key word for the webinar. Plan. You have to plan your timing. So, you've planned your message. You know exactly what you're going to say. You've planned your audience. You know who you're going to say it to. Plan your timing. So if you have this information prepared, again, it's going to help you know how to distribute it. So we're just really moving down the line. As you figure out one thing, goes to the next. You figure out the next thing. Now we're on timing. So here's those messages again. I have them. They're exactly what we had on the last slide. I wish we would have done side by side. We should have done that. Hindsight 2020. So, announcements of the program. Maybe you do that 4 weeks before the launch. Maybe that's too soon for you. You want to do it 2 months. Figure out what timing works best for you. And go through your messages with that initial timing. So when are you going to start and when is it going to end? Those are the big things you have to figure out for timing. As I said, we're going to go through our small content plan, our marketing plan after this, and I'll show you how that works. But, start date, end date, you got to figure those out first. And then you fill it in the middle. So 4 weeks before launch, maybe you're announcing your program. 3 weeks before the launch, you're sending out the benefits of mentors and mentees. That's really getting them excited, getting them to participate. 2 weeks before the launch, you're letting everyone know when the enrollment dates are. And then when it happens, that's something you have to be aware of too. Are you going to let people know as soon as they're able to enroll in the program? Is it going to be a big, exciting announcement? Is that how you're going to send your message out? How are you going to get their attention, and when is the best time to do it? So plan your timing. Again, this needs to be customized for your organization. You only know what's going to work best for you. There we go. All right, so we've done the who, the what, the when, and we are on the where. So choosing distribution channels. This is a big one. You have to figure out how you're going to talk to your audience and where they're going to get your message from.
This is definitely the most markety part. This is where I learned the most from working with Katie on this.
All right, so where? We're going to talk about email because email is what we see the most. Email is honestly what we use the most at Insala. We really try to send out emails often, and the great thing about emails, as I said before, is they can be automated. Automation is your friend. We use a program called HubSpot. We also use a program called Robly for our emails. Those are just two examples of ways that I know there's MailChimp, there's Marketo, there's a ton of email automations out there. Also, for those of you that don't know, if you're doing a mentoring program and you're using software like Insala's high impact mentoring software, we have automation in there as well. So that's just another way that you can automate your emails and get the message out.
And we're definitely going to be talking more about that in the next session. But some of the triggers that we have in the system would go out for whenever people can gain access to the system. You can provide updates on what they should be doing during their program, reminders to set goals. So a lot of these things that our system already offers, but something just to take into consideration is it's facilitating that relationship. And as an administrator, you're reminding them what they need to be doing along the way.
And just a side note on automation and the importance of it is, with marketing, a big thing is consistency. You want to be really consistent in your marketing. You don't want to send an email and then 2 months later go, I didn't send my other email. And now they haven't heard from you in 2 months. So you're not as relevant. Your emails don't mean as much because they feel like they're just kind of forgotten. So if they're knowing that they expect these emails from you and they're getting them regularly, then they're going to open them because they're going to know that they hold some value. So that's a great point about automation and why I really push email marketing out, why I really think it's such a great thing, because it's a great way to get your message out to the right people at the right time. So when employed well, an email marketing campaign can foster serious customer loyalty. In your case, it would be participant loyalty by creating direct links with consumers or your organization. You want to leverage ROI of any marketing campaign. It'll establish a brand as a reliable reference point for consumers. Like I told you, you want to be really seen as relevant and reliable. Decrease email list unsubscribe rates. So when you have an actual campaign and people are expecting emails from you, then they're not going to unsubscribe as much. You will have if you use one of these automation tools, you're going to have an unsubscribe button, and you definitely don't want people in your organization to unsubscribe from your email campaigns. So if they know they're coming and they're expecting them, then they're going to look at them more, like I said, and they're going to be more likely to stay on your list.
And Katie, for those uninitiated, can you explain what ROI means? ROI
means return on investment. Excellent. So if you're in, some of these automation tools cost money, and but what's more important than that? Your time and your effort and the resources that you're putting into your marketing campaign for your mentoring program. You want to make sure that you're getting the best return on that investment that you can. And for email, it's going to be people opening your emails and people clicking on the links in your emails.
Excellent. Thank you.
You're welcome. All right, so we have an example of an email that I sent out for our webinar series. This one went out a month ago, maybe? January 8th, yes, so almost a month ago. So I wanted to point out a couple of different things here. So at the top, you see the from, to, or sent to, and subject. The to, that went to our info at Insala account. That's just information that I pulled, so ignore who it went to. But these are all the things that we just talked about. These are the from, so it's coming from me. But you want to be really specific about exactly who that is. So if you get an email from someone named Katie Mouton and you haven't done a webinar with me, or you don't know my last name, you have no idea who you're getting this email from. You're just like, okay, it's another spam email. I'm going to delete that without even looking at it. I don't want you to delete my emails. I work really hard on my emails. I want you to come to our webinars because we love talking to y'all. So I want you to know, like, hey, this is Katie. I do the Insala webinars. So that's why I have Katie Insala webinar right there. So you know exactly who this is coming from before you even open it. This sent date, like I said, I started promoting this 4 or 5 weeks ago. So that was really important to me, is to figure out, when am I getting the best results? Sometimes I've promoted our webinars 3 months in advance. It didn't do as great, so we shortened that time frame. The 2, that's going to be your target audience, and then the subject. The subject is such a big deal, and not enough people make a big deal about it. Did that make sense? Yeah. So you have to have a subject that's going to catch the eye. You don't want to, I know you get a lot of emails. It's like, I have an exciting prize for you. Open this email. No, I personally don't like those, and I don't like to do that. I like to get a little snippet of what my message is in that subject. So when you open it, you know exactly what you're expecting. You really want to let them know. So join us for the upcoming webinar series, and I put the name of the webinar series in there. Typically, I don't send a subject quite this long, but for this one, I really wanted to let people know, like, this is what we're talking about. We're really excited about this, and we think you should be too, and this is going to be valuable information, and you can get all of that from one line. Now, obviously, we want people to open it, and once they open it, they're going to get into the meat of the email, which is what we have a screenshot for you as well. So the hi, sir, madam, normally that's going to have your name. Yes, this was automated. I'm giving all my trade secrets away. This email was automated, and we have it in our automation systems to say, if this is going to Matthew, hey, Matthew. It's very personalized for them, and that does take time for me to do that. So we're spending time to make sure that they feel personalized. If we don't have your name in our system, it's going to hi, sir, or madam. So we put just a little snippet about, what the importance of marketing for your mentoring program, and then we get right to it. Join us. We want you here for part 1. We want you here for part 2. Here's the name of our webinar series. Now, those little buttons right there, the 2 blue ones that say register now for part 1 and register now for part 2, those are called click to actions. So basically, that's a button that we put in there. If you're going to have an email where you're wanting them to register for something, to click through to another link, any email that you need them to actually engage with and do some sort of clicking, you need a click-through action on there. And you want to make sure that it's very, very direct. Register now. Click here to open our ebook. That's another one you're going to see from us. If these are very, very direct, people know this is where I go. This is exactly where I need to click to do that. I want to do that. Here we go. Real easy, straightforward, to the point, get it done. You're going to see a lot more higher click-through rates if you have these click to action buttons on here. So make sure they stand out. I like to make mine a different color, especially if there's 2. I don't want to make them the same color. Also, there's usually an image in our emails. I just think it makes it look pretty and it's more appealing to the eye. So that's something that you have to keep in mind too. When someone opens this, does it look really heavy on text? Because they probably don't want to spend the time reading it. Keep the text minimal, be very direct with your message. Add an image that makes it look more appealing to the eye, and be very direct with everything that you do. There needs to be a purpose for everything that you put into one of these emails. All right, I'm going to take just a second. I want to check to make sure. All right, just checking the question box real quick. Okay, so and we talked about email marketing and how that can really impact your marketing campaign and what you're trying to do and the message you're trying to get out. So we're just going to touch on organization events a little bit. We know that not everyone does organization events, but these are really important because these are going to get people in and get them to know exactly about your program. And you can do this face-to-face, which is a really, really powerful way to do marketing. I wish that I could get face-to-face with everyone that we want to come be a customer at Insala. That would be amazing, to really have your message go out in such a personal way and to be able to say everything that you need to say and know that they're hearing you. Organization events are huge. So if you really want to let them know about the benefits and get them excited about your program, I would suggest doing an event. If you're going to do an event strictly for your mentoring program, 2 great ones are Lunch and Learn. So provide lunch for everyone, come in, sit down, host a little webinar, have some slides up there, do a question and answer, really get the conversation going and get them engaged. The more engaged they are at your event, the more excited they'll be about it and the more likely they are to participate in your program. Another thing to do is meet and greet. This would be more of a networking event. It wouldn't be as formal. Sit down, here's the presentation. Have some information you can hand out on your program. Give people a chance to see who could be a possible mentor or a possible mentee, because more than likely the people that come to this meet and greet networking event that you're going to have are people that are going to be part of your program. So that's really a good way to get people already started talking, start their relationships ahead of time. This, again, is going to get them very engaged and very excited about being part of your mentoring program. Mentoring programs are great. They're there to help the individuals at your organization. So if they're not excited about it, they're not going to want to be a part of it. So it's really anything that you can think of that is going to be really, really exciting. Again, if you've done these programs in the past or you've done any sort of events in the past, go with what you know, what works. If you're not going to do an event that's strictly for your mentoring program, that's totally fine. Find other events that your organization is already doing. Department meetings. Yes, I consider this an event. They happen regularly. In the department meeting, talk to the manager that heads that department and say, hey, during your department meeting next week, can you just mention that we have this mentoring program and let everyone know that it's going to, enrollment starts on this date and this date? It's a great way to, again, get that who it's coming from. It's coming from their direct manager or a leadership or someone of the leadership team, and get your message out that way. Also, office parties. I know we do a happy hour at Insala every other month. Mm-hmm. It's pretty often where we at 4:00, we take an hour of our day and we really sit down and we bond as a team. We have a great culture here. That's a great time if Matthew and I were going to start a mentoring program to go, hey, everybody, everyone's really casual right now. We're just having great conversations. We're going to have a mentoring program. It's going to start. Let's talk about it for a second. Let's get really excited. So those are two things that are already probably happening in your organization that you can take advantage of. I'm sure there's a million other examples that I'm not thinking of, but your organization is, as I've said with everything else in this webinar, this is going to be specific for what works for you. All right, so the last distribution channel that we're going to talk about is taking advantage of the existing internal communications that you already have going on. Do you have a newsletter? If you don't run that newsletter, talk to the person who does. Have them put in a little block that says mentoring program and have a click-through action if it's an email. Use a bulletin board if you've got a bulletin board. I know we stick some things on the fridge sometimes. We have a little kitchen in our office. So have a bulletin board, stick it to the fridge, put it where the food is. People love food. Mm-hmm. Get it where you're going to see the most eyeballs. If you've got a recurring, hard word, what's wrong with my mouth today? Won't work. Reoccurring conference calls. We actually just had ours at 9:00 this morning. We have a weekly call where, as a company, everyone gets on a conference line and we go over what's happening that week or what happened the week before. We make announcements. This is a great time to talk about your mentoring program. If you have some sort of forum, if you do a news feed for your organization, social media is a huge way. Everybody's on social media. It's a great, great way to really get your message out there. You can do a lot of fun videos. You can do a lot of fun images. If you've got a social media for your organization, internal, please remember this is internal. You want to get it out that way. And then something else that Matthew and I kind of talked about that we thought was fun is email signatures. We all send emails and we all have our signatures at the bottom, your name, your phone number, probably your title of the company. Why not have a link there that says join our mentoring program? And you probably want to be a little more specific than that because I'm sure you send out external emails. Join our mentoring program for so-and-so employees. There's lots of different ways you can say that, but it's a great way to do it and get the word out there every time you send an internal email. All right, so we are getting towards the end, and I think we're actually on time for once, which never happens. Right. So I know this is kind of small, but I did want you to look at a type of marketing plan. There's tons of marketing templates out there that you can use. Like I said, I've been doing marketing for 10 years, and I still like to just stick to an Excel document. But this is where I kind of talked about planning. So you have to have a marketing plan. You can't go in and just wing this. I mean, you can. It's just probably not going to be as successful. You're not going to get the message out to the people that you want to see it. So really, it's sitting down and, like I said, you start with what your campaign is. So the first one on the list is the Marketing for Mentoring webinar, part 1 and 2. Yes, this is my marketing plan that I use this for the first quarter for mentoring. So for this webinar, this is exactly what I did. This was my start date. So start date, I picked my start date, 12/18/19. My end date is today when we're doing the webinar. So I'm going all the way through. And really, I'm going to send another email after the webinar. That's not on here because I know I'm doing it. But so I started on the 18th of December. That should be 18. Sorry. So social media promotions started back in December, once per week. We made sure that it was on our LinkedIn page. We're promoting it that way. January 8th, I started my HubSpot workflow, which means I set up my automation tool to start putting emails into automation. I didn't start it then. I was just setting up the workflow. Also on the 8th, I did my first Robly email. I told you Robly is a tool that we use for email marketing. So that was when my first Robly email went out. We had a LinkedIn campaign that started on January 15th. We put an ad on LinkedIn to get everyone interested in this, and so you can kind of see how this progresses and what we did. So I had this all laid out 2-3 months before this webinar happened. So I knew exactly when I wanted things to go out, exactly how they were going to go out, what the message was going to be. I have a way more detailed one. It would not have fit on the screen, but it says what each email is going to point to, who we're going to send it to, who our target audience is, exactly what time we're going to send it. I have that much more detailed. So you can make this as simple or as detailed as you need it to be to do exactly what you need it to do. All right, and that's kind of the end. I know I shared a lot of information. I know I talk really fast. Sorry. So I wanted to make sure I got as much out there to you from a marketing perspective as I could. So just to recap, know who you're talking to. You got to pick your target audience. You've got to decide exactly who you're talking to and also who it's coming from. Those are really important. So plan what you're talking about. This is defining your message. Determine how you will communicate and also create a marketing plan and be very consistent. I can't say that enough. It's important to be consistent so that people find you relevant and reliable and that they're going to open your emails or look at your bulletin board or really pay attention and come to your event. If they know they're coming and that they're going to get something valuable from you, they will be much more responsive and engaged. Matthew, do you have anything to add that I may have missed?
No, I think this was very informative, especially, the reason why Katie really consulted with me when she was creating this webinar was just because I'm more of the after fact. So I will be talking a little bit more in the next session, but definitely it's all these things to really get people promoted and excited about a mentoring program, because you're doing a mentoring program because you're inspired to help people connect, help people develop career development, leadership, diversity. You really want to get everyone connected to learn from each other. And everything she's talked about today really gets it moving and gets it promoted. It's going to make sure that when you finally get to that part, that maybe as a mentoring program admin, you are very well versed in, this is what you're doing. This is going to get everyone excited and ready to go. So starting off on a great foot is what's going to make your program successful. And that's why I know she'll mention in a moment, our next session will kind of continue along with this. So a lot of information, but this was recorded. I know I'll be reviewing it for myself a little bit.
And I just want to emphasize in something that you've said a couple times is that make sure you're doing this before your program launches. Don't wait until your launch date and go, okay, time to be aware. We started a program, because it's not going to get started then. Because now you're going to have to market to these people and really wait for them to join you. So make sure you're doing this well before your mentoring program starts, because you should have a plan for that as well. Put your marketing plan into your mentoring plan. All right, we're going to do questions in just a minute. So if you have any, please stick them in the questions box. We have a few minutes left to answer those. So get those in and we'll start going through those if you have any questions. I'm hoping I did a good enough job that we won't have too many. But we'll see. So also, please join us for part 2 of this webinar series. As Matthew said, it's going to be on the after, or well, the during and after. It's going to be the during and after. So I did the before. This is what you do before to get people excited. Well, it doesn't stop there. You really want people to continue to come and continue to be involved, and that's really what we're going to talk about for the during and after. So I've put the link to that webinar in our chat box. I'll also add it to the email that I send after this with your recording, so we hope that you can join us. All right, and that's February 26th. Sorry, February 26th, we're having our second part of this webinar series. All right, do we have any questions? Also, I do want to, let me get our links. I have links for Matthew and my LinkedIn pages. We love connecting with y'all. We usually get a couple of connections after that. You know, everyone has really great reviews on what we can do better and what we can do more of. We love to hear feedback. We love to connect with you on LinkedIn. So I'm going to add those links as well into the chat box. There we go. Please connect with us. We like people.
That's right. And Katie, I do see a question. How far in advance should a mentoring program marketing campaign start before launch?
You know, I kind of mentioned this before, but really it's going to depend on what works for your organization and how big your program is going to be. If you're going to be, you know, marketing to a ton of people, if you have a huge target audience, if this is going to be like, let's say you have a career development mentoring program, those are pretty inclusive. So those could go out to everyone in your company. And you really, if you're looking for big numbers, you know, we talked about setting your goals. Set your goals. If you know that you have a huge target audience and you know that you're looking for big numbers as far as participants and building awareness, you might want to start 6 to 8 weeks in advance, maybe even before, you know, so that you're getting the most eyeballs on your message that you're sending out. So if you're sending an email, maybe you do it 8 weeks in advance, and then maybe you wait a week, maybe 10 days, and you send another one. Check your open rates, check your click-through rates. Those are really going to tell you if the email you sent is actually working. If it's not working and you didn't get a lot of eyeballs on it, send another email. Don't send the exact same email. Change it. Change your subject, change the content in your email. People don't want to open the same email 20 times. So you want to change that message up a little bit. But I would say for a big mentoring program, 8 weeks, 10 weeks, I think you would know that better than anyone else because it's your organization. I would say to start awareness. Like I said, you're going to break it down into different messages. So to start awareness, you might want to look a little farther out. Now, once you're starting, you've built awareness, people know what's going on, and it's getting close to enrollment date when you want people to really start signing up for your program, that's when you send out your benefits. So that might be 4 weeks before your launch, 3 weeks before your launch. Send out, hey, here's all the benefits, here's the great things that will happen for you or that you can see when you do this, and here's how much, like somebody said, how much time is it going to take? Let them know all the details of the program. Here's your time commitment. Here's what you can get out of it. Here's your ROI that's possible. Here's the goals of the program. Let them know that when it's a little closer time to enroll. And then right before enrollment, I would suggest sending out, hey, reminder, enrollment date's coming up. Don't forget, we want you to enroll. And then actually on the day that it launches, on the day enrollment starts, get them to enroll. Make sure you send out communication that day too. So kind of how I had it in the slides is how I would break it up. But the big thing to determine how long before would be looking at how big your audience is and what are your goals. Those are the big questions you have to ask yourself before you pick the time to start. All right, let's see. I'm just going to double check. Internal email, so we cannot track open rates or click rates. What is about average? Okay, good. Okay, so we're a city government and are limited to internal email, so we cannot track open rates or click rates. What is about average? You know, it depends on the size of your audience. I would say a good click-through rate for a small audience would be 30 to 40%. 40% click and open. So open click, yeah, we're going to put those together. Because for an internal email, most people they're going to open are probably going to click through. So I would say 30 to 40% to start with. Now, as you start narrowing down your audience and you're sending more specific emails about the program itself and not just awareness, I would say, once you really get into people who are interested and you're sending out targeting specifically, I would say you want to see at least a 60, 70% open and click-through rate, because these people are interested. So they should really be looking at your emails and clicking through to be a part of the program. In the beginning, like I said, if it's small communication, not a huge target audience, I'd say 34%. Now, for this webinar, I think I sent out 7,000 emails. I had a 15% open rate, and I was pretty happy with that. All right. Any other questions? We're about out of time. All right, I'm not seeing any come in. Like I said, please connect with us on LinkedIn, and if you have any other questions, we would love to chat with you. Just send us a message. We check it pretty regularly. Also, again, please join us for part 2. Matthew's going to do some more talking. You won't just have to listen to me the whole time. So part 2, February 26th. Again, the link is in the chat. We hope that you got something out of this and enjoyed this conversation as much as we did. Matthew, anything to add at the end?
No, I just hope to see you on the 26th.
All right, everyone have a wonderful day. Thank you.